everybody, my name is Rebe. Welcome to Mango with Lime. I hope your day is as sweet as a mango. No, that's okay. That was my attempt at making the name of this channel relevant to anything at all. Anyway, today's video is short and sweet, like mangoes, some might say. No. Okay. I went on a deep dive of book tags from 2012 and stumbled into a couple of books that have made people cry. So that's what we're doing today. I'm telling you about some of the books that have touched my heart in a way that allowed me to either just tear up a little bit or straight up started sobbing. And in order to organize these books, I have 3 different categories. The first category is a light mist. You know, this cry is the type of cry that is giving walking through a mist tent at Disney on a hot day. You know, it's just kind of on your skin. You're like, wow, a little bit poetic. Next is a respectable cry. That's just when you cry, you have tears, maybe 1 or 2 sobs, and it's good. You needed it, you get it out. Next category is Niagara Falls. I don't think I need to explain that one. If you've seen Niagara Falls, you know. My hope in this book tag is that if you have been feeling emotionally stunted and have come to peace with the fact that us readers, we can be masochists. We want to feel the range of human emotions without actually having any skin in the game, and that's why we read books. Is that just me? Is it? Comment down below. Are you like that? Let's get started. First up, we have Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sanz. This one is a respectable cry for me. If you haven't heard of it, it's about these 2 friends who are going through their adolescence and discovering themselves, discovering to accept themselves. It is just a good coming of age story. The way that Aristotle, our main character, also goes by Adi, learns to just leave shame behind, leave judgment behind, and accept himself and love himself and the people that are around him who are just here to support him, and how to just like embrace that rather than continue pushing away or allowing the world to tell you what to think of yourself. As a teenager, it really spoke to me. I think it was one of the first books where there was a positive relationship between the teenager and the parents. And that's true for both Adi and Dante. And I love seeing that on a page, especially because it was also a book about Mexican-American teenagers growing up and figuring themselves out. And the focus on family was so present and so clear. And it was a really beautiful journey. I am very glad that I read this book, and whenever I have the chance, I recommend it to people. Even if you're an adult, it doesn't matter. You're gonna be absolutely moved by these characters. Next up, we have Night by Elie Wiesel. And this book for me was Niagara Falls. It was absolutely heartbreaking. If you don't know what this book is about, it is actually about the author himself. It is a memoir that he wrote from ages 12 to 15 and the events that he experienced along with his father towards the end of World War II. It is the story of how he and his family were taken from their home and basically put through various concentration camps. It mainly focused on him and his father, and the events that he experiences there, how they changed the view of himself and the view of humanity. The absolute depravity that people were put through. And the purpose for writing this book that he has mentioned in interviews before his death was that he doesn't want people to forget that that is something that happened. And while it is very uncomfortable and challenging to read, and it raises a lot of difficult questions about ourselves and our own humanities and how we can do horrible things to other people, I think as a society we're better off sharing the suffering of past events and dealing with that together rather than avoiding it. So I do think that's a book that everyone should read. You know, appropriate at an appropriate age, everyone should read. Let me say that. Next, we have none other than The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. This one for me is a light mist. Not sure why. I wasn't bawling. If you were, tell me about it. Is this one of the books that has made you cry the most? This book is about Hazel, a 16-year-old girl who has cancer. She has been diagnosed with cancer and attends a support group with other teens who also have cancer. At the support group, she meets this guy named Augustus Waters, and their story begins. It is a very fun and yet very sad story of friendship and first loves, and I so recommend it if you haven't read it. I think that it touches on a lot of topics of our own mortality, and especially from the eyes of someone who is so young, it was a very good read. I think sometimes John Green, to me, writes characters who are very young and yet very pretentious for some reason. They're, quoting the last words of all types of famous people, but I do think that this book was very relatable in spite of that, and I appreciated that it was from a female perspective. My own criticism about John Green, that doesn't matter at all, he's John Green, but is that at times he writes female characters like they're this like mystical creature almost, like there's such a enigma, and that isn't the most relatable thing. And maybe he's trying to capture that that's maybe what it feels like from a 16-year-old boy's perspective. I don't know. But this book is very different, I feel, from the rest of his work in the sense that both characters feel very honest and real, and their love story is captivating and beautiful, and it raises a lot of also hard questions about how to deal with pain and how to deal with our own suffering. Next, we have Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing some of these names. I really do. I'm trying. This book for me is a respectable cry. It is one of my favorite books of all time. Kite Runner is about an Afghan immigrant named Amir who lives in the US, but throughout the book he is looking back at his childhood in Kabul, and specifically at his relationship with his best friend from childhood named Hassan. He looks back on how their lives were changed forever through the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan, and how this led him and Hassan into very different paths of life, and what this means for him today. It is a very, very well written book. I, again, so admire the way that the story is told and carried. Amir is a very real person, like you experience so many emotions with him where you love him, you hate him, you're proud of him. It's very good. Weird side story before we move on to the last book. When I first heard about Kite Runner, it was through a conversation with somebody, and I went and tried to buy it, and I accidentally bought The Maze Runner. I don't know why. I didn't remember the exact name of the book. I was like, this is it. And I read the entire Maze Runner series, then read Kite Runner. So very different vibes. I was like, this is not the heartfelt story that people were selling me on. It's good. But what? Next, we have Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. Pretty sure. Yes, Gilbert. She is the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, that book that was then turned into a movie with Julia Roberts where she eats pasta and has a lot of epiphanies about herself. Yeah, Big Magic, unrelated to Eat, Pray, Love, is a book about creative living. This book is an interesting one for me to have on this list because I didn't expect to cry when I was reading it. I picked it up and was like, this is gonna be some weird self-help blah that I'm gonna get tired of after a few chapters, and then I didn't get tired. I loved it. I thought it was the message that I needed to hear, and if it might be the message that you need to hear. Big Magic is a book about creative living and inspiration. To dare to create without fear of judgment and just embracing a creative lifestyle. The part that made me cry was a chapter when she is talking about the differences between men and women in pursuing certain either jobs or endeavors, and it was saying that most women will not try something unless they feel like they meet every single requirement in order to succeed at this, while most men are gonna apply for the job or do the thing even if they only meet half. And she was essentially trying to get people to just go for it, right? It's a book that inspires you to have this mentality of, if you love to create, if you love to do something, then you gotta just do it, and you have to do it in the time that you have. And it was a very freeing message to read. I enjoyed it thoroughly, and maybe you guys would too. I don't know if you'll cry. If you read it and you cried, let me know, because again, this is a weird one for me to have on the list because I don't often like self-help books, but this one felt very different to me. My rating for this one was a light mist. Like, don't start thinking it was like Niagara Falls about living creatively. No. Especially compared to some of the other books on this list, this is not it. So that is all I got for you today. Those are 5 books that have made me cry. There are more books that have made me cry. Those are the ones that came to mind first, and here we are. Thank you for watching, Mangoes. No? Yeah? No? That's okay. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!